up, family and friends, YouTube video or YouTube viewers, uh, Facebook viewers? You don't know who I am? I'm Melissa Elvis Osborne, coming from Marathon, New York. Happy Monday. I hope you had an amazing weekend. I am going to finish off or read. And I didn't write that down. See, there's things I forget to do when I'm doing these lives. And my hair ain't the greatest, but it'll do for now. I'm getting it done. Do bear with me. I am going to read my affirmations for the morning before I get on with the chapter reading. I believe in myself. I believe in those who work with me. I believe in my employer. I believe in my friends. I believe in my family. I believe that God will lend me everything I need with which to succeed if I do my best to earn it through faithful and honest service. I believe in prayer, and I will never close my eyes and sleep without praying for divine guidance to the end, that I will be patient with other people and tolerant with those who do not believe as I do. I believe that success is the result of intellect, effort, and does not depend upon luck or sharp practices or double-crossing friends, fellow men, or my employer. I believe I will get out of life exactly what I put into it. Therefore, I will be careful to conduct myself toward others as I would want them to act toward me. I will not slander those whom I do not like. I will not slight my work no matter what I may see others doing. I will render the best service of which I am capable, because I pledge myself to succeed in life. And I know that success is always a result of conscientious and efficient effort. Finally, I will forgive those who offend me because I realize that I will sometimes offend others, and I will need their forgiveness. I'm Melissa Eloise. So if you're tuning in, please say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in. I appreciate it. Okay, where we stopped from Saturday. Remember that your only limitation is the one that you set up in your own mind. As she handed the typewriter or typewritten page back to me, she said, "Your motto has given me an ideal that is going to be of value to both you and me." I told her I was glad to have been of service to her. The incident made no particular impression on my mind, but from that day on, I could see that it had made a tremendous impression on her mind. She began to come back to the office after supper and perform service that she was neither paid nor expected to perform without anyone telling her to do it. She began to bring to my desk letters that she had answered for me. She had studied my style, and these letters were attended to as well as I could have done. In some instances, much better. She kept up this habit until my personal secretary resigned. When I began to look for someone to take his place, what was more natural than to turn to this young woman to fill the place? But I had time to give her the position. She took it on her initiative. My personal mail began to come to my desk with a new secretary's name attached, and she was that secretary. On her own time, after hours, without additional pay, she had prepared herself for the best position on my staff. But that's not all. This young lady became so noticeable, efficient, that she began to attract the attention of others who offered her attractive positions. I have increased her salary many times, and she now receives a salary more than 4 times as large as the amount she received when she first went to work for me as an originally stenographer. And to tell you the truth, I'm helpless in the matter because she has made herself so valuable to me that I cannot get along without her. That is initiative, transformed into practical, understandable terms. I would be remiss in my duties if I failed to direct your attention to an advantage, other than a greatly increased salary, that this young lady's initiative has brought her. It has developed in her a spirit of cheerfulness that brings her happiness that most stenographers never know. Her work is not work. It is a great interesting game at which she is playing, even though she arrived, and I'm enjoying my coffee as I read to you, at the office ahead of the regular stenographers, and remains there long after they have watched the clock tick off 5 o'clock in quitting time. Her hours are shorter by far than are those of the other workers. Hours of labor do not drag on the hand of those who are happy at their work. This brings us to the next step in our description of the exact procedure that you must follow in developing initiative and leadership. So, what are you guys drinking today in your morning drink? Second, you of course understand that the only way to get happiness is by giving it away to others. The same applies to the development of initiative. You can best develop this essential quality in yourself by making it your business to interest those around you. In doing the same, it is as well known fact that a man learns best that which he endeavors to teach others. If a man embraces a certain creed or religious faith, the first thing he does is to go out and try to sell it to others, and in exact proportion to the extent to which he impresses others does he impress himself. In the field of salesmanship, it is a well-known fact that no salesman is successful in selling others until he has first made a good job of selling himself. Stated controversially, no salesman can do this or do his best to sell others without sooner or later selling himself that which he is trying to sell to others. Any statement that a person repeats over and over again for the purpose of introducing others to believe it, he also will come to believe. And this holds good whether the statement is false or true. You can now see the advantage of making it your business to talk initiative, think initiative, eat initiative, sleep initiative, and practice initiative. By so doing, you are becoming a person of initiative and leadership. For it is a well-known fact that people will readily, willingly, and voluntarily follow the person who shows by his actions that he is a person of initiative. In the place where you work or the commonly in which you live, you come in contact with other people. Make it your business to interest every one of them who will listen to you in the development of initiative. It will not be necessary for you to give your reasons for doing this, nor will it be necessary for you to announce the fact that you are doing it. Just go ahead and do it. In your own mind, you will understand, of course, that you are doing it because this practice will help you and will, at least, do those whom you influence in the same practice no harm. If you wish to try an experiment that will prove both interesting and profitable to you, pick one or pick out of some person of your acquaintance whom you know to be a person who never does anything that he is not expected to do, and begin selling him your ideal. Hi, Angeline Costello. Beautiful soul. Nice to see you here. Always a pleasure. Okay. Okay, do it. Not selling your. Okay. He is not expected to do, and begin selling him your ideal of initiative. Do not stop by merely discussing the subject. Once keep it up every time you have a convenient opportunity. Approach the subject from a different angle each time. If you go at this experiment in a tactful and forceful manner, you will soon observe a change in the person on whom you are trying to experiment. And you will observe something else of more importance still. You will observe a change in yourself. You cannot talk in initiative to others without developing a desire to practice it yourself through the operation of the principle of autosuggestion. Every statement that you make to others leaves its footprints on your own subconscious mind, and this holds good whether your statement are false or true. You often heard the saying, "He who lives by the sword will die by the sword." Properly interpreted, the simple means that we are constantly attracting to ourselves and weaving into our own characters and personalities those qualities that our influence is helping to create in others. If we help others develop the habit of initiative, we in turn develop the same habit. If we sow the seeds of hatred and envy and discouragement in others, we in turn develop these qualities in ourselves. This principle through which a man comes to resemble in his own nature those whom he most admires is fully brought out in Hawthorne's story, The Great Stone Face, a story that every parent should have his offspring read. I'm going to have to get that. We come now to the next step in our description of the exact procedure that you must follow in developing initiative and leadership. Third, before we go further, let it be understood what is meant by the term leadership as it's used in connection with the reading course on the law of success. There are two brands of leadership, and one of them is a deadly and destructive, as the other is helpful and constructive. The deadly brand, which leads not to success but to absolute failure, is the brand adapted by persuado leaders who force their leadership on unwilling followers. It will not be necessary to here describe this brand, or to point out the fields of endurance in which it is practiced, with the exception of the field of war, and in this field we will mention but not notable example, that of Napoleon. Napoleon was a leader, there can be no doubt about this, but he led his followers and himself to destruction. The details are recorded in the history of France and the French people, where you may study them if you choose. It is not Napoleon's brand of leadership that is recommended in this course, although I will admit that Napoleon possesses all the necessary fundamentals for great leadership. Expecting one, he lacked the spirit of helpfulness to others as an objective. His desire for the power that comes through leadership was based solely upon self-aggrandizement. I think I'm saying that right. His desire for leadership was built upon personal ambition and not upon the desire to lift the French people to a higher and noble station in the affairs of nations. The brand of leadership that is recommended through this course of instruction is the brand that leads to self-determination and freedom and self-development and enlightenment and injustice. This is the brand that endures, for example, and as a contrast with the brand of leadership through which Napoleon raises himself into prominence. Consider our own American commoner, Lincoln. The objective of leadership was to bring truth and justice and understanding to the people of the United States, even though he died a martyr to his belief in this brand of leadership. His name has been engraved upon the heart of the world in terms of loving kindliness, and will never bring aught but good to the world. Both Lincoln and Napoleon led armies in warfare, but the objects of their leadership were as different as night is different from day. If it would give you a better understanding of the principle upon which the reading course is based, you could easily be directed to consider leadership of today as that resembles both the brand that Napoleon employed and that which Lincoln made the foundation of his life work. But this is not essential. Your own ability to look around and analyze men who take the leading parts in all lines of endurance is sufficient to enable you to pick out the Lincoln as well as Napoleon types. Your own judgment will help you decide which type you prefer to emulate. There can be no doubt in your mind as to brand the leadership that is recommended in this reading course, and there should be no question in your mind as to which of these or the two brands described you will adapt as your brand. We make no recommendation on this subject, however, for the reason that this reading course has been prepared as a means of laying before its students the fundamental principle upon which power is developed, and not as a preachment on ethical conduct. We present both the constructive and the destructive possibilities of the principle outlined in this course, that you may become familiar with both, but we leave entirely to your own discretion the choice and application of these principles, believing your own intelligence will guide you to make a wise selection. We come back now to the discussion of the third step of the procedure that you must follow in developing initiative and leadership. This third step takes us back for a review of the principle of organized effort as described in the two preceding lessons of this course. You have already learned that no man can accomplish enduring results of a far-reaching natural without the aid and cooperation of others. You have already learned that when two or more persons ally themselves in any undertaking in a spirit of harmony and understanding, each person in the alliance thereby multiplies his own powers of achievement. Now, where is this principle more evident that it is in an industry or business in which there is perfect team work between the employer and the employees? Wherever you find this teamwork, you find prosperity and goodwill on both sides. Cooperation is said to be the most important word in the English language. It plays an important part in the affairs of the home, in the relationship of man and wife, parents and children. It plays an important part in the affairs of state. So important is this principle of cooperation that no leader can become powerful or last long who does not understand and apply it in his leadership. Lack of cooperation has destroyed more businesses and enterprises than has all other causes combined. In my 25 years of active business experience and observation, I have witnessed the destruction of all manner of business enterprise because of discussion and lack of application of this principle of cooperation in the practice of law. I have observed the destruction of homes and divorce cases without end as a result of the lack of cooperation between man and wife. In the study of the histories of nations, it becomes alarmingly obvious that lack of cooperation effort has been a curse to the human race all back down the ages. Turn back the pages of these histories and study them, and you will learn a lesson in cooperation that will impress itself indelibly upon your mind. That's if you want to focus on it. Oh, thank you, Angeline. I'm glad you're enjoying my reading. I'm only going to read about, yes, one, two, 3 pages. I'm going to read to 67. Okay. You are paying, and your children and your children's children will continue to pay for the cost of most expensive and destructive war the world has ever known, because nations have not yet learned that a part of the world cannot suffer without damage and suffering to the whole world. This same rule applies with telling effect in the conduct of modern business and industry. When an industry becomes disorganized and torn asunder by strikes and other forms of disagreement, both the employers and the employees suffer irreparable loss. But the damage does not stop here. This loss becomes a burden to the public and takes on the form of higher prices and scarcity of the necessities of life. The people of the United States who rent their homes are feeling the burden at this very moment of lack of cooperation between contractors and builders and the workers. So uncertain has the relationship between the contractors and their employees become that contractors will not undertake a building without adding to the cost an arbitrary sum sufficient to protect them in the event of labor troubles. This additional cost increases rent and places unnecessary burdens upon the backs of millions of people. In this instant, the lack of cooperation between a few men placed heavy and almost unbearable burdens upon millions of people. The same evil exists in the operation of our railroads. Lack of harmony and cooperation between the railroad management and the workers has made it necessary for the railroads to increase their freight and passenger rates. And this, in turn, has increased the cost of life's necessities to almost unbearable proportions. Here again, of lack of cooperation between a few leads to hardships for millions of people. These facts are cited without effort or desire to place the responsibility for this lack of cooperation, since the object of this course is to help its students get at facts. It may be truthfully stated that the high cost of living that everywhere manifests itself today has grown out of the lack of application of the principle of cooperative leadership. Those who wish to decray present systems of government and industrial management may do so, but in the first analysis, it becomes obvious to all except those who are not seeking the truth that the evils of government and of industry have grown out of lack of cooperation. Nor can it be truthfully said that all the evils of the world are confined to the affairs of state and industry. Take a look at the churches. I got an eye booger, and you will observe the damaging effect of lack of cooperation. No particular church is cited, but analyze any church or group of churches where lack of coordination of effort prevails, and you will see evidence of dis- disintegration that limits the service those churches could render. For example, take the advantage or average town or small city where rivalry has sprung up between the churches, and notice what has happened, especially those towns in which the number of churches is far out of proportion to the population. Through harmonized effort and through cooperation, the churches of the world could sufficient influences to render war an impossibility. Through this same principle of cooperative effort, the churches and the leaders of business and industry could eliminate rascality and sharp practices, and all this could be brought about speedily. These possibilities are not mentioned in a spirit or criticism, but only as a means of illustrating the power of cooperation and to emphasize my belief in those potential power of the churches of the world. So there will be no possibility of misinterpretation of my meaning in the reference that I have here made to the churches. I will repeat that which I have so often said in person, namely, that had it not been for the influence of the churches, no man would be safe in walking down the street. Men would be at each other's throats like wolves, and a civilization would still be in prehistoric age. My complaint is not against the work that the churches have done, but the work that they could have done through leadership that was based upon the principle of the coordinated cooperative effort, which would have carried civilization at least 1,000 years ahead of where it is today, that you may more fully grasp the fundamental principle of cooperative effort. You are urged to go to public library and read The Science of Power by Benjamin Kidd. Out of the scores of volumes by some of the soundest thinkers of the world that I have read during the past 15 years, no single volume has given me such a full understanding of the possibilities of cooperative effort as has this book. In recommending that you read this book, it is not my purpose to endorse the book in its entirely, for it offers some theories with which I am not in accord. If you read, do so with an open mind and take from it only that which you feel you can use to advantage in achieving the object of your definite purpose. The book will stimulate thought, which is the greatest service that any book can render. As a matter of fact, the chief object of this reading course on the law of success is to stimulate deliberately thought, practically that brand of thought that is free from bias and prejudice and is seeking truth, no matter where or how or when it may be found. Procrastination is a deadly enemy of all who would become leaders in any undertaking. During World War One, excuse me, I was fortunate enough to listen to a great soldier's analysis of how to be a leader. This analysis was given to the student officers of the second training camp at Fort Sheridan by Major C. A. Batch, a quite unassuming army officer acting as an instructor. I have preserved a copy of this address because I believe it to be one of the finest lessons on leadership ever recorded. The wisdom of Major Batch's address is so vital to the businessman aspiring to leadership, or to the section boss, or to the stenographer, or to the foreman of the shop, or to the president of the works, that I have preserved it as a part of the reading course. It is my earnest hope that, through the agency of this course, this remarkable dissertation on leadership will find its way into the hands of every employer and every worker and every ambitious person who aspires to leadership in any walk of life. The principle upon which the address is based are as applicable to leadership in business and industry and finance as they are in successful conduct of warfare. Major Batch spoke as follows. In a short time, each of you men will control the lives of a certain number of other men. You will have in your charge loyal but untrained citizens who look to you for instruction and guidance. Your word will be their law. Your most casual remark will be remembered. Your mannerism will be aped. Your clothing, your carriage, your vocabulary, your manner of command will be imitated. When you join your organization, you will find there a willing body of men who ask from you nothing more than the qualities that will command their respect, their loyalty, and their obedience. They are perfectly ready and eager to follow you so long as you can convince them that you have these qualities. When the time comes that they are satisfied you do not possess them, you might as well kiss yourself goodbye. Your usefulness in that organization is at an end. How remarkable true this is in all manner of leadership. So I want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for commenting on my YouTube channel and on my page. I appreciate every single one of you. Know that you are amazing souls, ladies and gentlemen. I believe in you. I'm here to help you grow as an individual as I'm growing because I don't have all the answers, but I'm learning. And as I'm learning and sharing with you what I am passionate about, doesn't mean that you're going to believe in what I believe in, but maybe it might strike a chord with you to go move forward and get out of that box. And I want to say thank you, Robert Montgomery, for the tool. I also picked up a nice tool today or yesterday. It's in my story. Please check it out if you're interested. I'm not trying. And when somebody says these words, try, change those words. Take out try and say I do. Sometimes when we say try, we end up falling back and we don't go after what we really want, or we procrastinate. So change certain words, because words have meaning. Words have more. Words are money, because it's all on how we behave and how we act toward others and how we act toward ourselves. So just remember that. Look in the mirror. Let yourself know. Tell yourself that you're beautiful or you're handsome and you matter. And people need to see you. They need to be around you, because there's only one of you. Have an amazing Motivation Monday. And thank you for tuning in. You all have an amazing day. Love y'all.